Okay, guys, thank you for joining me again. This is latest 247. So, on this episode, we are going to be talking about another drug bust. Recently, a man was caught trying to move. In fact, he's moving already, moving about 280 kilograms of drug to Sokoto State. So, according to the security officials that caught him, they said he was moving it from Benin, that is from Benin to Sokoto State, and it's going through Lagos, Niger State, Kebbi State, and then all the way to Sokoto State. Now, this drug thing is becoming a very big issue. I mean, I've made a lot of videos about people getting busted for moving drugs, and most especially it has been people trying to move it across, to different countries. But right now, this is the one that has even happened within the country. So this guy was caught by the NDLEA, which is the same agency that is taxed with, affairs of illicit drug trafficking. So they caught this fellow. His name is Bashir Ibrahim. He has been arrested when he was trying to move that drug. Of course, he has succeeded in moving it from Benin through Lagos and, headed to Sokoto. So somewhere around Kebbi State, he was caught. And according to them, it's about 280 kilograms of skunk and diazepam. Now, these are these are drugs and, used in different ways by different people. So, but it's becoming very, very prevalent in the Nigerian sphere in terms of drug use. Of course, drug use have increased over the years. I mean, we've had issues whereby these agencies will have to raid a particular place, bring out the drugs, burn them, things like that. And people sometimes criticize them even. Surprisingly, people criticize and be like, those things that they are burning are worth a lot of money, millions of money. But I think it's a deterrent. It's supposed to be like a deterrent to those that are into the business, knowing that if you get caught, you're going to lose everything. So there's no need trying to go into that business. There are other legal businesses that you can go into. So according to the NDLEA, this guy was moving it from Benin Republic, through Lagos to Sokoto State, where he was arrested on Saturday, the 3rd of April, 2021, around 8:30 p.m. You can imagine in the night, which is somewhere around Dundee local government areas in Kebbi State. And according to him, he tried to claim to be someone else that he wasn't. He was moving in a Peugeot 406 saloon car with some Lagos number plate. So he claimed, to be like a senior officer in one of the, law enforcement agencies in Sokoto State, and this was for him to get through. And we know how this works sometimes, on the road when you're traveling, if you are a forceman, if you are police, soldier, or whatever thing you are in the enforcement agencies, you can easily get, a leeway to go to where you're going to. You get less harassment because they'll be like, okay, you are not expected to do anything illegal. You're not expected to be involved in anything illegal. So it is easy for them to trust you and allow you to go through. So I think that's what this guy has been using. And he might have been using this strategy for a long time. But unfortunately, it just didn't work this time around. And that also makes people that when they want to travel sometimes, people that want to travel to, go for a long distance, they will look for a policeman to pay, a mopole, that is mobile policeman that they can pay or something like that to go with them. So when they have that person in their car, it is easy for them to pass through checkpoints. Because when they get to checkpoint and the police or whoever is at the checkpoint sees someone in uniform, they'll be like, okay, this set of people can be trusted. They can be criminals since they're able to get the police among them. So it's easy for them to go through. So people use this as a way of traveling that makes traveling very easy for them. So you don't get harassed, you don't get disturbed, you don't get delayed by other security agents when they see their colleagues, in your car. So I think this fellow understands that, and that is why he was also claiming to be one, not even going along with police, because it will be difficult to get a policeman to go with you when you're carrying drugs like that. So the easy thing for him to do now is to claim to now be the officer, to now be the law enforcement agent. But unfortunately for him, he was caught. And according to the agency, when asked who he was trying to deliver it to, who is the main drug king or the kingpin that is actually in charge or the owner of the drug, and he said he was just trying to deliver it to someone that is simply identified as Queen. Now, the Queen, of course, from the name we assume that is a woman, and that means she must have been very, dope in the business, very strong in the business, and knows how the business runs, and that is why she identifies herself as Queen and not her real name. So, and because of that Queen, now it will be difficult for the police or the NDLA or whoever is investigating this case now to find out who she is. Of course, if she has a permanent residence, then it will be easy to track. But if she doesn't have, which is the way a lot of these guys operate, I mean, we see it in movies. You try to be smart. If you're a drug dealer, you are going to be very, very smart. In fact, sometimes smarter than the law enforcement. And that is why they don't get caught on time. A lot of times it will just have to be a lot of conspiracies and everything before they will get caught due to some people snitching. If not, they might not be caught because they are smart and know how to cover their tracks. They dissociate themselves directly, they don't have a direct connection with those that are moving the drug. So when you catch the main person moving the drug, you will still not know who is the main drug dealer, who owns the drug, because they don't really know the person. So that's what's happening right now. So the person that is supposed to own the drug is known as simply Queen. So right now, the officers don't know who the person is, and hopefully they will launch an investigation and they might be able to get to. But on the same level, something that is happening in other places here, whereby we had those moving drugs from somewhere in Onitsha, Anambra State, and moving it to Abuja. These ones where some guys are trying to move some all this cough syrup. We know that cough syrup is very strong in the market also when it comes to drug. And this one has to do with codeine. I mean, you'll be hearing of codeine. I don't know. This came onto the limelight somewhere. I think a few years ago it became very popular when people start realizing that it has the effect of getting people high when you take a high dose of it. Of course, it's something that is made is a cough expectorant, cough syrup that is supposed to relieve you from your cough when you have cough. But then when you take it in high concentration, because of the codeine content, you can get high. So that has become a very big business for those selling it. So it's another person was actually caught, moving it from Onitsha, which is Anambra State, moving it to Abuja, but they couldn't go directly because of law enforcement as well. So what they had to do was to move it to a different park in Suleja. Suleja is in Niger State, and then from there they'll move it to Abuja. But those ones also have been caught. And the person that is involved, person requesting for it, that is supposed to be the dealer at this time, was actually caught. So these are some major wins for the law enforcement agency, NDLEA, and we hope that this continues. I mean, maybe you can get this scourge of drug reduced. I mean, when people get high on these drugs, it becomes very easy for them to do some things that they are not supposed to do. Imagine, imagine moving or smuggling about 2,800 bottles of different cough syrups, with codeine content inside them, moving them to Abuja. 2,800 cough syrups. Now, when they tell you what this thing is called, this thing are supposed to, and they're supposed to be expensive because they're supposed to be like everyday treatment for those who have cough and whatever. But because of the high use by people who are using them as pure drug to get high, the prices are increasing and those things are becoming scarce because the demand is high now. When the demand is high, you know what happens? Supply and demand. When the demand becomes so high, then the price will also follow suit, and then the supply will go down. So right now what's happening, moving 2,800 bottles that's supposed to go to those who actually need it, in the right quantity and the right dose of treatment. Now moving it to those that will just pop one bottle and finish it. They might even take 2 bottles at a go. Now, demand continues to increase and the supply is low. What happens? The price continues to go up. So these drugs now are actually termed illicit or illegal drugs right now, unless they are being prescribed by a doctor. And when the doctor is prescribing it, a pharmacist, they know how they are going to prescribe the dose. It's not just going to be something that you just pop and start drinking, no. So these guys have been caught, and the dealer also has been caught. Now I hope that they continue this trick, continue getting it out of the system of the country, and hopefully we might have a good country. I mean, some drug names, strong names like nitrazepam, cannabis, different kind of names like that have been caught. People moving them have been caught every day. And this is not just the case of moving it outside the country, but rather now even moving it within the country. So this is a very big scourge, and we hope that it gets under control very soon. So what do you guys think about drugs? Those moving it outside the country and those even moving circulating it within the country and get people hooked on these drugs, which eventually makes them to do some dirty and illicit things that they're not supposed to do because they're high on drugs. So tell me what you think about it in the comment section, guys. Thank you for listening.